Today on Off Road, I'm joined by serial entrepreneur and dealmaker who's created hundreds of millions of dollars in shareholder value across mining, cannabis, fintech, and beyond. Marc Levy is the founder and CEO of Norsemont Mining, currently advancing the historic Choquelimpie, I think, gold silver
Choquelimpie.
Choquelimpie Gold-Silver Project in Chile, a site with massive potential and existing infrastructure in place. We're diving into what makes this project unique, how Marc builds momentum in volatile markets, and what's next for one of the more talked about names in junior mining. Marc, welcome to Off Road.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
All
And
right.
yeah, we're very happy to be here and share our story. We're very passionate about our project, Choquelimpie, which is based in northern Chile. We own 100% of the asset. We've put out a resource estimate just recently of 2.74 million ounces of gold equivalent, and there's about 80% of that is indicated and 20% is inferred, and about 20% of that resource, 550,000 ounces, is oxides, which are very easily and amenable to leaching to remove the gold from them.
Is that the I couldn't pronounce it. Is that porphyry or something like that?
Porphyry. Yeah, so
Porphyry.
we have a gold porphyry in the project
Hmm.
in the in the northeastern part, and we believe we have got also a copper porphyry in the more southern western part of the project. But what we're talking about is all the mineralization, and the gold is primarily at surface, so it's an epithermal, high sulfidation epithermal system right at the surface, which is where the main gold is. And
Hmm.
we do have, because it was the third largest gold producer back in the late 80s, early 90s, as you mentioned, we've got a 3,000 ton a day mill, we've got full infrastructure lab, but we also have some existing waste rock, well, dumps, which basically can be reprocessed. So we have about 210,000 ounces of gold sitting on the sidelines, ready to be processed on our leaching pad, which we have all 43-101, because we've done 66 sonic holes into the leach pad, into the leach materials. So that's a our lowest hanging fruit is to put that into production, and it could take us about 24 months to get it to production and generate some serious cash flow. And then we've got the larger global resource where we want to target to grow that out to a 7.5 to 9 million ounce global resource by drilling down at depth and along strike. We've proven that the resource goes down 300 meters through other drill holes down to 300 meters. The resource itself that we put out was based only on 70 meters. So if you can imagine, the first 70 meters of the project contains 2.74 million ounces, and it goes down 300, you can easily extrapolate, doubling and tripling the size of a deposit really easily along at depth. So it's a very robust project in a great area. We have some very unique tax benefits. The
Hmm.
metallurgy is amazing because it was in production previously, so the metallurgy is fine. We've got water, we've got roads, power, backup generators. Like, we've inherited, according to one of our engineers, him and I did an interview probably in 2022, saying that we've got about 150 to 175 million US of infrastructure we inherited. And of course, we've got, 140,000 meters of drilling, which there's very few projects in the exchange that can say we've got 1,710 holes and 140,000 meters drilling, which is about a $50 million exercise if you were to drill all those holes today.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the project and I was looking at it, I thought it was just another gold mining project. But I mean, this has infrastructure. I mean, infrastructure is the bottleneck in mining, and it seems like you guys have everything right there. Is that one of the main things that brought you to this project?
Well, the size of the existing resource when we first acquired it, because
Hmm.
we knew that there was a large resource there. Second, obviously infrastructure, because then the capex is a lot lower and the IRR is a lot higher. So the return on our investment is going to be high because we don't have to pay for bringing power to the camp, which is to the project, or roads and certain things that cost a lot of money. And we do have a 3,000 ton a day mill that needs a bit of work, and we'll be getting an engineering report to say, hey, this is, we'll need to spend $1 million, $2 million, bring up to speed, nothing crazy. And we are, wanting to work towards getting into a sustainable production situation, so we're never reliant on capital raises or the market or further dilution at a certain point.
Financing is always top of the mind for investors. How are you thinking about funding the next phase, particularly in terms of balancing dilution, debt, and potential strategic partnerships?
So yeah, we're pretty focused on trying to find the right strategic partner to come in here on an equity basis. So they take a position and they follow their position in any future rounds. And as well, they're not going to be selling into the market until we're in a production situation or we're getting taken out. We've also been negotiating with another group, on a couple of groups, on a gold offtake where we sell some of the gold, which is a non-dilutive way of funding it. If we were to hypothetically sell a couple of thousand ounces, forward sell it for delivery in 3 years, we can raise 5-10 million by giving away 2,000 to 4,000 ounces, which is obviously nothing out of 2.7 million ounces, right? With zero dilution. So we're pursuing that avenue as well. And we're looking at companies to potentially invest in us that are in the mining sector that could become a partner as well. So right now we are looking to do a funding to advance the project, but we are really focused on a strategic type of scenario here. So
Sure. Yeah. You've brought on a pretty high caliber team, from when I looked at the website. And what
yes.
specific skill sets were you looking to add and to support for the next chapter of Norsemont?
Yeah, we've got Michael Thiel, who's based out of Santiago, Chile. He put Esperanza into production from the first drill hole, and 6 years later, ahead of time, on budget, 2.7 billion put into production. And he also helped turn around Las Bronces, which is a very complicated but successful mine in Chile. So he's a big mine builder. We've got him on our team. Obviously, myself, having 4 exits in mining and several other exits in the technology sector. We've got the right people to carry this through. We've got David Lang, who's an engineer, very famous guy that actually put this project into production. Originally, Shell, the oil company, owned it before Northgate, and then Copec, the largest conglomerate in Chile, owned this thing. And they were getting out of gold in 2019 when I met him, and focused on copper. And that's when we acquired this. So, we've got a really amazing team around us that's very accomplished. We've got a great geological team and board, and we are looking to diversify the board and bring on additional technological talent. We've got some advisors in the engineering space because we really want to start getting our pre-feasibility done on our dumps to get that towards a production situation. And once we have something like that, which we expect by the end of the year, there may be other avenues for funding, like streaming, offtake, and other non-dilutive mechanisms for raising additional capital. Because obviously, hey, I'm a shareholder. I don't want to dilute. I want as much money on the table for our shareholders. And obviously, you can also use debt when you're going into a cash flow situation, which is something to look at that time.
In Norsemont's recent presentations and interviews highlight your interest in being a strong steward of the environment and local communities. What concrete ESG practices are in place, and how are you working with stakeholders in Chile?
So I'll answer the last part of the question. The landowner who owns the land that we pay rent to, it has the community on side and wants to ensure that we hire from within the community, is a practice that we've done in the past in Peru, where I've operated, and Panama, where we've sold assets previously to larger cap mining companies. Bringing the community involved, getting the engagement of the community, the government. Any moves we make, we go through the community, we go through the government. So we've got the government on side. They've been very, very supportive. Community's been very supportive. We're the only game in town to really create gainful employment,
Okay.
education, and benefits for the community. They know that. And obviously, we need to be sustainable. We need to operate in a very clean, green environment, ESG, even though you're in mining. And Michael Thiel, who's done this already on a larger scale, would oversee all the policies and procedures to ensure that we follow the right uh, procedures and rules and regulations in Chile. The whole sector itself is moving towards a cleaner era, but
Yeah.
there's obviously the need for the metals.
Hmm.
And I don't see, this was in production in the late 80s, early 90s, and they didn't run into too many issues anyways. And now technology is better and there's better opportunities and better ways of operating. Chile, actually, a good point. Chile has been very supportive. The Chilean government, it's been very easy to operate there. When we say we want to get a drill permit, they promise us a drill permit. We get it on timelines that make sense.
Hmm.
They just announced on July 1st or 2nd, there was a published report from the Chilean government where they're reducing the timelines by 70% for mining permits. So from the permitting process, they're going to reduce that. So now it's becoming even a more favorable environment to operate in for Chile. So that's a good benefit for me and our stakeholders down there, and obviously our shareholders reviewing this.
What about tariffs? How is that going to be playing any kind of effect at all? Or
No, tariffs don't. We're actually in a unique situation. We're in the duty-free, tax-free zone. So we actually have a
oh,
30% tax credit on our
okay.
project on any large infrastructure. So if we were to invest like 300 million, we'd have a $90 million tax credit. So there's some really good benefits of being there. We're also in the duty-free, tax-free zone. So when we're in production, we'll be structuring, selling the gold through offshore structures like through Caymans, which Endeavor did, and one of our advisors out of there to and retain earnings offshore to reinvest into the project prior to taxes. So, we have some guys that can help us, and we are in an area that is duty-free, tax-free zone because we're in the northern part of Chile that is right next to and connects to Peru. So it's quite a unique situation that we have that's very positive, obviously.
Nice. Well, with all your experience in building companies, what would you say your end game is here with Norsemont? Do you see yourself as an acquisition target, a JV candidate, or something like to build out yourself?
Yeah, I think we want to build out and get this to a cash flowing situation because it's a very low capex and a realistic project that we can take to production on our own. And I think that's where we would get the most value. And I would look from the past where I've sold up our companies into larger entities, and that diversifies us from being a one asset to multi asset, provides liquidity for someone that wants to get their money off the table, or someone like myself that wants to stick with it and think, hey, we achieved a goal and we think there's a lot more on the table. For myself, I have a personal goal. I haven't sold $1 billion mining company yet, and this would be the asset that I think will help me achieve the goal. I've sold a $500 million company, but not $1 billion company. So, that's my personal goal with the company, and we're aligned with our shareholders. We've participated in every funding. We participated in the market. We've exposed our family for over $9 million of investment into the company. Even my wife put her life savings in and bought $1.5 million of stock at 50 cents and watched it erode. And now I can say, thank God, my food won't be poisoned because she's in the money finally. But, we're here for a really big win. And I think we're 2, 3 years away from getting this into a point where it's de-risked and in production scenario where we can create a really big exit for us from the gold perspective. And we have our bonus blue sky, which I'm a copper expert. I'm a copper porphyry guy. We've got Sergey Dyakov, who came on our board, who helped discover Oyu Tolgoi, one of the biggest copper deposits that's in operation for Ivanhoe and Rio Tinto. And he looked at our data and said, Mark, you've got a high grade porphyry. We just don't know how big it is yet, but I really like where you're located. We think this is big. So that's a bonus blue sky to our project, that if I can hit the jackpot on that, then maybe I have a multi-billion-dollar win on my hands as opposed to just $1 billion win. So, and I know it sounds crazy, but people that know me. I work my butt off, and I'm very focused on this company. We've got a lot of good shareholders that have been with me. We've raised a lot of money at $1.60, $1 at 75 cents, all the way down. And they all believe that time that they came in, that it's a 10 plus bagger. And we all still believe that we can achieve that. And the market's now turned. The price of gold has doubled since we took the project. We've gotten 2 drill permits so far. We've done metallurgy. So we've been de-risking this. And then we're still sitting, if you look at our share price from 2021, we were sitting at 265 a share, trading 300,000 shares a day, to now we're sitting at 70, 75 cents. So our valuation is still down, but we're up from where we were before. We've turned a corner, and we're starting to get recognition from a lot of well-heeled newsletter writers, analysts, bankers that are coming to me and saying, Mark, explain to me why this isn't trading at $2-3. What's the catch? And I'm like, hey, there's no catch. We own it. There's no major royalties. There's water, there's power, community. It's just we've been quiet for a while. Now we're about to go back and drill and get our pre-feasibility on dumps, do our metallurgical work. It's about to come out, and engineering. So now we're in activity mode, and we are being chased by a lot of money out there, which is nice to be seeing the tables turn finally for us. And I think we're, just the perfect turning point for an investor to come in here and let me do my job and make them, big returns over the next 2-3 years.
Speaking of which, you guys are trading, you're trading in Canada. Are you also trading on the OTC markets?
Yeah, so we're on the OTC ID under NRRSF as in Frank, Norsemont Mining, and we're trading in Canada under NOM.
Okay.
I think our stock's about 51 cents US and about 75 cents, 74 cents Canadian currently. And we've got good liquidity in the United States. We've been focusing a lot of energy on the US market. So you can see that our liquidity in the US has grown dramatically since.
Well, I know you were just at a big roadshow down in South Florida.
Correct. Yeah, we were in meetings back to back all over Florida. Yeah.
Boca's a real hotspot for investors. It's been growing and growing and growing, and I kind of feel like it's like Long Island South.
Yeah, probably. You get a lot of New Yorkers out there. Well, there was a Rick Rule conference, and obviously he's a force to reckon with in our industry. And there was a lot of good companies and good people at his show, which we attended, and we met a lot of titans in the mining sector that we're starting to get notices from. So it was quite a nice opportunity, and see a good gathering of people and see a lot of energy in the room. I met investors from Sweden and Finland, which you don't usually see that coming into the West, US markets here. So it's nice to see some smart monies waking up all around the world, and definitely think we're, heading into a much better era in the mining sector right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Mark, thanks for taking the time to come inside the strategy and, with off-road. And I'm going to take that again. Hold on. All right. Mark, thanks for taking us inside the strategy behind Norsemont and the vision for Choquelimpie. It's clear that you're not only looking for ounces, you're building value with purpose. We'll be watching closely as the next drill results, partnerships, and milestones come together. And I appreciate you going off-road with Frank Ferraro today.
Nice to meet you, and thanks for exposing us and getting our story out there. We really appreciate it. Look forward to updating you in the future.
All righty. Thanks so much.
Perfect.